dry skin beavers, I feel much more comfortable personally with the fleshing knife than I do trying to be ultra careful when I actually remove the pelt. So trying to get the pelt off, one piece, no holes, no damage. Remove the front feet there already. So try to keep the talking to a relative minimum so that I can get it done. I am filming this on the GoPro. It likes to heat up battery if you're a little too long-winded. So, look at this going, cutting up underneath, trying to keep those holes as small as possible. This is a nice beaver. It's actually one that I caught the other day. I reset a snare and I was putzing around with a 330 about 20 feet away, and this guy came shooting out of the bank and got snared while I was standing there. So I actually have a little bit of video of that. If it's not on my site yet, it will be. Pretty cool. It was amazing to me when I got him. I made a really good neck shot on him, and under a minute he was toast. So what I like to use is carpet knife. The reason why I do that, it's got a set depth. That'll prevent me from cutting the gut cavity open here. If you cut with the grain of the hair, it won't clog it. It'll make it a little easier. So I give it a good push around the center of the beaver. Right to the casters. That should open it up pretty good. There you go. Sometimes your blade gets a little caught up with the hair, especially when you get the really prime one. Try not to cut the casters open because they are bonus round material, as I like to say. They're worth usually about $5, I think, is the average. $4 or $5 a beaver, and you start adding $4 or $5 to pelt. I think I averaged about $50 a beaver in the last auction. So they're there. Take care of them, you'll get the higher prices for them. Might as well. What the heck, huh? It's really more so applicable if you're selling your own furs. Now, I've had several fur buyers tell me, if you don't stretch your own furs, which I do, but you sell green furs, not round furs. You sell the unfleshed pelts, unstretched pelts. The fur buyers generally would prefer for you to skin them like this. I leave lots of fat, lots of meat on. I keep my knife well away from the skin itself because for the most part you're going to have to run the knife over the top of a beaver no matter what you do or how much fat is left on there. You're still going to end up having to get a good fleshing job done. You're still going to end up running the blade over the beaver. I tend to be pretty particular about my beavers once I get into the fleshing board. It's one of the species that I've tended to do quite well on at auctions. So doesn't mean that it's right or wrong. This is just how I do it. Some guys are real particular about trying to get all the fat off. I actually try to leave most of it on. Take it off with the fleshing knife. Now, I'm pushing on the knife than I am pulling. I mean, it looks like I'm, really sliding the blade through there, but actually what I'm doing is I'm putting pressure on the front of the blade and I'm pushing it down more than using the cutting action of it. And I'm going on that piece of skin between, you got on beavers, you got fat, or meat, fat, meat, fat. I'm sliding the knife between the two layers of meat. If you're particular about that, you won't cut through the hide, because on beavers, two things matter: size and holes. Those are the only two things you actually have control over. You can catch 100 beavers, but beavers themselves have a certain starting point. I mean, if they're not prime, or if they got damaged hair just from, being a beaver, they might at best grade out as a grade 2. All you can really do is lose from, all you're trying to do is just capture the actual value of the pelt. You can't make a grade 2 beaver into a grade 1. They are what they are. So, I like a fillet knife. I'm really careful about the tip. A lot of times you see beaver knives are curved with no tip for the reason of not wanting to poke holes in the pelt. I've scanned hundreds of beavers, so I feel comfortable with it. I would recommend, if you're just starting, take your fillet knife, clip off the front. That'll give you a little bit of safety in there. So, go down the center, peel it back, and I get them on their side, and this part goes relatively quickly. I take pretty good meat when I'm up on the legs, and I'm probably 3/8 of an inch at least from the actual pelt while I'm cutting, and because I'm taking more fat with it, more meat with it, it allows me to be a little bit faster. Generally speaking, when I'm just clipping along on beavers here, it'll take me about 10 minutes to skin a beaver. It'll take me about maybe 10 minutes to flesh them, and then maybe about 10 minutes to board them. I usually dedicate about a half an hour's time to the processing of beaver. So, get it down past the halfway point, go up here, get the front legs, same thing. When in doubt, take meat. Don't worry about getting it right next to the friggin' pelt, because if you're wrong once, in the wrong area, you cut the value of the pelt in half. And that's the general rule on beavers is, you might get away with one small hole. You start getting past that, you get into the damage categories. You can take a $50, $60 beaver and turn it into a $10 beaver or $5 beaver real quick. So, get one side going, flip them over. You see how when I cut, you got the skin and fat, and you got the meat and fat, and I'm actually cutting about a half an inch away from the edge of the skin. Just taking that excess with it. You don't cut by the skin, frankly. You can't cut through it. So I'm gonna clip through here. I got a few of them to try to get done tonight. Figured I'd do this one. He's a pretty good one. This one's actually a pretty well pelted beaver. This one, based on the guard hairs and the overall clarity of the hair, select. Won't know for sure, but it should at least be a grade 1. And it's big enough, or will be big enough when I'm done, that it could possibly get into that top lot contender category. Only done that once with Beaver. Of course, it's like there's only like 50 top lots out of 250,000 pelts, so it's you just got to try to shoot to get into those select classes, because essentially that's what a top lot is. It's the #1 select class of the select size. If you have a medium, you're never going to make a medium beaver into a top lot. Just ain't gonna happen. You don't have enough starting value. So this one's got a pretty good set of casters on them, which is good. Maybe an extra few dollars for the pelt. So down along the tail, there's not a lot of fat, right? I mean, just over the tail, there's a ton of it, but right along the spine, as it goes down, there's not much for fat at all on there. So I actually just follow the bone. Heck with it, I take all the meat. And now I'm going to have, as part 2 of this little series, I'm going to flesh out this, and you'll see that, but it's going to take me maybe a minute to clean that off. So it's safer to get it that way. So once I get the back end of the beaver, skin out, I'll roll up here onto the head, still cutting about, ½ inch behind the skin line. Take the ears at the skull. Usually when I flesh those out, I'll clip them off a little bit. And then we just take and good. Cut down around the nose. And get it to the nose. Take the cheeks. Looking good. Roll that along the cheek. Usually, when I get to this point here, hopefully I was still in camera shot. When I get to this point here, I slow up a little bit. And I gently follow that cartilage right to the nose, because it gets very skinny or lean up around here. But if I gently work it up to the nose, I can actually get this to where it's pretty much fleshed out. It's the only part of the beaver that is a real pain in the ass. Use a knife. So there we go. There's our starting point right there. You see what I mean about the hair. Uniform guard hair from head to toe. Dark color, super dense underfur. And we're starting off with probably a 40-inch long pelt without it even being fleshed. So it'll probably gain 6 or 7 inches just through the fleshing stage, because that'll stretch it, and then when I stretch it, I'll probably gain a couple more. This will be at least a 3X, which puts it in contender mode. So to protect it, because I'm not going to stretch it right now, I'll fold the pelt itself like this. I shouldn't be setting it on top of the friggin' carcass. Let me get that out of here. I'll fold it on itself like this, really carefully, making sure that the hair itself covers the skin. It's only going to be about a day, but I don't want to get any freezer burn. And I'll freeze that up, and then we'll come back to it here in part 2. More to come.